Hello all, Mellody Brown here. Let's get started. A student needs at least a 65 to pass Algebra 1. During the first 2 quarters, the student averaged 50s. What is the minimum the student must average during the last 2 quarters to pass for the year? So I went ahead and took the liberty of underlining the helpful pieces of information that was given to us, which is at least a 65 to pass, so that's what essentially we're calculating for, and averaged 50 during the first and 2 quarters, and what we're ultimately searching for in the end, the minimum the student must average. All right, so I hope the chart that I made does not look confusing, but I will go ahead and explain it. So I made a first and second quarters table, basically. And obviously, when calculating average, you should know that you add up however many numbers you're dealing with, and then you divide by the total amount of numbers that you added up. So you should already know that if you have an average of 50 during both the first and second quarters, then both the second and first quarters should be 50. In order to get the average of 50. So now, trying to figure out what the third and fourth quarters would be, you can play around with the numbers a little bit. I know I started with a number higher than 50 because obviously you can't get or put in a number lower than 50 because there's no way that you would get the number 65. So I went ahead and I thought that 60 would be a little bit too low, so I tried to work with 70. So if a student made a 70 in both the first, if a student made a 70 in both the third and fourth quarters, that means they would average out to have a 70. But I figured out when adding up both 70 and 50 and then dividing it by 2, it didn't get me quite 65, but it did get me 60. So I knew I had to go a little higher than 70. So 70 would not be a minimum that the student must average. So I tried a different number. So I went up 10 more and I tried 80. All right, so now you know if you have 80 in both the third and fourth terms or quarters, you will average out to have an 80. Okay. So now you can see that I have these two numbers separated by a plus sign, and I separated them by quarters. So if you were to add 50 and 80, you will end up with 130. And earlier in the video, I told you in order to calculate the average, you have to add up the two numbers that you're dealing with and then divide by the two numbers. So we have 130 divided by 2, and once that is divided, that will give you an answer of 65 as a minimum pass rate for algebra. So we know that the minimum the student must average in the last 2 quarters are both 80s. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you understood my method of teaching. Have a great day.